You know, it amazes me sometimes what game companies can lose. A classic example is how DSi managed to somehow lose the source code for Stunts, aka 4D Sports Driving, preventing any sort of future source port or additions to the game. Today's game is an example of a company seeming to forget the specifics of how their game came to be. Arctic Adventure, not to be confused with Antarctic Adventure, not to be confused with Antarctic Adventure either, is a very old game, but the details of when it came to exist, when it was first released, and its history leading up to Apogee's publishing of the game is a bit of a mystery. But hey, it's a CGA game, and I've wanted to review a CGA-only game since I started ADG, so let's get right down to the game stats. Arctic Adventure was originally developed by George Broussard while he was handling his own company, MicroFX, which means this game was developed before he joined Apogee. However, there doesn't seem to be any information anywhere about if he released this game under the MicroFX banner or not, let alone when if he did. In any case, the version that's persisted, version 2.0, was published under the Apogee banner in 1991. It's a one-player puzzle platformer game featuring CGA 320x200 4-color graphics and PC speaker sound. As for its current release date, 3D Realms, which is the name Apogee eventually came to be known by, made Arctic Adventure freeware in March of 2009, and you can download it straight from their website, www.3drealms.com. Interestingly enough, this game is technically a sequel to the game Pharaoh's Tomb, which was also made by George Broussard and plays very similarly to this game, but the two games don't actually have much in common story-wise. Basically, you play the role of Nevada Smith, clever name, who spent the last 6 months after his grand adventure in the Pharaoh's Tomb trying to find another big treasure to hunt for, and he finally discovers one while reading an ancient Nordic scroll which describes a band of Vikings having hidden a vast wealth of treasure in the Arctic. They then recorded the location on a map, split the map into several pieces, and hid those pieces as well. Naturally, Nevada decides to take a trip to the Arctic to find this wealth of treasure. He also invites his boss, Dr. Jones, along, but he declines, saying he has too much work. You know, these Indiana Jones references are so blatant. Anyways, Dr. Jones also tells Nevada that he may need some insurance on the trip, and thus tosses him his trusty .38 caliber revolver to take with him. Now, the gameplay itself is fairly straightforward. You firstly walk around on an overhead map trying to find various caves in the area you're in. You then go inside a cave and are faced with a platforming challenge of some sort. Sometimes it'll be pretty simple what you have to do, especially in the later levels, believe it or not, but other times it might take a bit of planning if you intend to survive. Fortunately, you have unlimited lives, and you don't lose anything when you die, so all death really means in this game is starting a level over again. But you are going to die. Quite frequently, as a matter of fact, for a very particular reason, but we'll get into that in a moment. First, let's talk about what you're actually going up against. To put it simply, you're just trying to explore the caves in each of the 4 volumes of the game. Once you've faced 19 of the 20 caves in a particular volume, a passage opens up to the last cave where the map piece is hidden. To clear one of the caves, you have to reach its exit arrow, though some of the caves may instead have a pipe you'll go down, which brings you to a special bonus room first. The instructions say you have to press the down arrow key to go down a pipe, but for some curious reason, only pipes in the later volumes require you to do this, and you'll go down the rest automatically. It's kind of weird like that. Each of the caves you visit are filled with 2 different kinds of treasure, coins and gems. Gems are worth a lot more points than coins, but coins are usually easier to get. You may also occasionally stumble across treasure chests which give you a random number of points, or snowmen which give you a ton of points. You also need to pick up pickaxes to break away the ice keeping you from the exit, jump over or kill the various enemies you'll come across, dodge bullets shot from automatic turrets which are inexplicably present. Didn't know the Vikings had that kind of technology. And find spare guns to salvage ammunition from. Now, one thing you're going to want to do a lot of is jump. Once you learn exactly how high you can jump, you can look at a level and figure out which blocks you're able to touch from underneath. Now, this is important because every time you start or restart a level, some of the standard blocks are randomly changed to house bonuses, including piles of coins and treasure piles worth 10 to 25,000 points. So if you want to maximize your score, you gotta jump away at the ceiling frequently. But now we come to the key reason why you're going to die so often. The jumping controls are broken. Now don't get me wrong, once you get used to the way jumping is registered, you'll sort of adapt to pressing the keyboard keys in the way the game expects you to, but failing to do this will lead to your death many times. Now here's what's going on. The arrow keys for movement interrupt the jump button, and so do vertically moving platforms. So no matter what, if you want the maximum distance possible when you don't have the room to jump your highest, or if you want to jump multiple times in a row, or if you just want to jump at all from the edge of a vertically moving platform, you must press and hold a movement key for at least a single frame of gameplay before you press the jump key. I know, it's very picky and annoying timing, but if you don't get used to this, you're going to have a heck of a time trying to play this game with the keyboard. Now, the game does supposedly have joystick support, but I couldn't get it working properly. So really, for all intents and purposes, you're going to be stuck playing with the keyboard. One other thing that kind of disappointed me is that all three of the later volumes of the game aren't really any different from the shareware volume. Once you've played through the shareware volume, the registered volumes are really just more of the same. The only new thing that pops up at all are the snowmen, which simply give you a lot of points. There's also a very clear decrease in the quality of the level design as the volumes progress. Considering there's a total of 80 levels to face, it doesn't surprise me that some levels would be really easy and some would be stupidly hard, but it seems like most of the hardest levels were put into the first two volumes, and most of the easiest levels were put into the last volume. Though I also find it funny that the very last level of the fourth and final volume has no enemies to face and is designed to quote the phrase, "Like it?" In any case, there's not really much else to go into about the game, but I can provide a few tips if you want to try it for yourself. Firstly, this is not a shooter in any way. Your gun has extremely limited ammunition, and unless you can pick up every spare couple of bullets you can find, you won't be able to kill all the enemies you face. Make every shot count, and only kill the enemies if you can't safely find another way around them. It is possible to jump over enemies, but frequently when you attempt this, you'll graze their hitbox, which will cause them to suddenly turn in the other direction, meaning you'll probably land right on top of them and die. Another useful tip is that in any level where multiple turrets are facing the same direction, only one of those turrets can have a shot in the air at any moment in time. For example, if there's 3 left-facing turrets and one of them shoots at you, none of those 3 turrets will be able to shoot another shot at you until that first shot clears the screen. That said, if there's both left and right-facing turrets in the level, then at any moment there can only be one enemy shot going left and one enemy shot going right. No more. The ice actually comes in multiple flavors in this game, including a variety that you can break by hitting with a jump from underneath, a variety that you can push along the ground to serve as a platform to higher ground, and 3 kinds of slippery ice, one which always pushes you left, one which always pushes you right, and one upon which you simply can't stop moving. The latter kind can be very annoying to deal with, but if you continually alternate pushing left and right, you can stay relatively stationary, and you also won't carry any momentum when you jump. You can also use this ice to your advantage, as you can move at double your normal speed while on it, which is the same speed the bullets move at. One really important tip is that not every item you come across is meant to be attained. In the first volume, there's actually a key floating over top of some spikes, which is 100% impossible to safely pick up. Naturally, you don't need it to clear the game. Curiously though, Volume 3 actually has an extra pickaxe you can pick up and keep on hand between the various caves, which is kind of weird since every individual cave has enough pickaxes by default. If you do find you're having difficulty with a level though, or you manage to get stuck, which is not impossible, simply hit escape and quit back to the map, then just head for a different cave for the time being. My last tip is simply to be persistent. Once you get used to the controls, this game isn't that difficult. Just annoying at times from all the dying and level restarting you'll do. Just be persistent and you'll eventually clear the game. Anyways, let's talk Dosbox settings. As I said before, I couldn't find a way to make the native joystick support work properly, so if you want to use a joystick or gamepad, your best bet is to use the Dosbox key mapper to remap the keyboard keys to a joystick. Just keep in mind that doing this will run you into the same broken jumping handling as usual. As for the rest of the settings, if you set the cycles count to auto or max, the game may fail to start, so instead set a fixed cycles count. I recommend 5,000. The graphics scalers don't exactly make the game look better, but they do make the game look different. Try them out, and if you like what you see, leave them on. If you don't, leave them off. Simple enough. So that's all I really have to say about Arctic Adventure. It's a short, simple, slightly broken, but nonetheless interesting product to come out of Apogee. And with that said, stay tuned for episode 24 of Ancient DOS Games, though just to warn everyone, it is going to be a mature rated episode. Why? Because I'm going to be covering a game that is so well known that even to this day it is praised for its groundbreaking achievements in 3D gaming, yet criticized for the excessive violence it portrays. The guesses for this game are going to roll in fast, so make sure you send them quickly to adg@pixelships.com, since only the first 3 people to correctly guess will get their name into the credits. And then make sure to tune in next Saturday as I explore both sides of the controversy this game continually stirs up.